warm. We are walking up. I'm walking up to the pool for a meeting with the management, but I want to use the time that I have in between sessions to kind of give you parents or everybody else who's been interested in our camps a little bit of an update of what's been going on. So yesterday was arrival day. It was a really long day for me because I woke up like around 3:45 in the morning. The airplane was not comfortable. It was, you tried to sleep, but my neck started hurting. So, really kind of tiny airplane. It was a big airplane, but not a lot of space. Anyway, we got there and then got the news that the first people had to do like an emergency landing because somebody on the plane got sick and they landed in the middle of Spain. And, so like just a lot of organizational issues. Obviously, he's like next to me. I can't really swing over it because it's like fixed on me, but I've been working day and night with the room organization, with the hotel, with the center, all the different arrival times, the different wishes that everybody has, on day one. But we're now in a place, I feel like it was a lot. It was a long day. We expected it. We actually expected it to be even more challenging. So I think we learned a lot from previous camps. And we got through the day. We got into the water. We had our first session, and I'll tell you in a second what happened yesterday, and then kind of what we're learning and how we're adjusting during camp, which is super, super important. But anyway, we finished the workout, got a good dinner in, and then pretty much sent everybody to bed because for most people it was a long day as well, right? So by 10 o'clock they were in their rooms, and coaches got together for a bit of planning what we're doing today. And I feel like now we found a rhythm, right? People know who's who. They kind of know where everything is in the center. They know their way, and so they can walk up to the pool, not by themselves, but like in small groups. So things are starting to get easier in terms of organizational stuff. And also they're starting to feel the water, right? And that goes for elite, and that goes for junior camp. Now, I'll just share what I think is most like would probably the most interesting for you, to give you a bit of an insight so you can be almost like part of the camp a little bit. So yesterday, Yul and I, we had to basically do the orientation for the elite. And then we went up to the pool, and the swim workout for the elite started. And it was led by Coach Milorad Čavić and Tino. And Yul and I had to also do the orientation for the juniors up at the pool. And after we're done with orientation, Milo explained this beautiful thing on how the underwater fly kick works, how you create that whip, how you actually move forward in the water. Because a lot of, just give you an example, and he was teaching with the whiteboard, and it was awesome too, also for the coaches to just see how he does it. But a lot of the kids, when you ask them, how do you actually move forward when you do it on the water fly kicks, right? They will say, well, when you move your feet up and down. And that's the same thing that Yul has been explaining so well for months, years, is that when you actually just move stuff, or like water, in our case, up and down, you're just moving it up and down, which is not where you want to go. So if you want to go forward, you need to propel stuff. In our case, again, is water. You need to propel it backwards. And the only time you do that is when you change the direction of the kick. And that's when you want to create that whip, and it starts in the chest. And so we were doing all that. And then, we asked them to do like a little bit of a set where they're doing like some underwaters, and the instructions, they were really clear. And then basically we were watching, just observing, and what happened was there's swimmers, and there's a lot of them that we already know, and we know what they're capable of, right? I mean, there's also a lot of new ones where you say, okay, we kind of got to observe what their skill level is. Maybe they were off for a really, really long time. We got to give them a day or two but there's people that we absolutely know they can do it. And because Yul and I, we weren't really there in the beginning, right? It was a set with where you hold your breath, and it was supposed to be like a little bit hard. And then what we see is they get on the wall and they start talking to each other. And that pisses us off, because our mission is to make them better swimmers. we use competitive swimming. But then also the bigger mission behind that is to make these young kids, these gentlemen and these ladies and or girls and boys, make them better human beings and equip them with the skills that they're going to need later on in life to be successful, you know, to teach them to do their best, to try their best. They're still, we always said leading up to the camp, do not be afraid of failure. This is why you come to camp. You can fail, but we want you to try your best. And if we know, right, if we can see and we know that you can do better, but you're choosing not to, right? Now I'm explaining it as if I'm talking to the swimmer because that's like where my heart is. That's, for me, it seems like a waste of potential. And also it's not aligned with what we discussed with you parents, right? Because we spoke to every one of you on the call and we know there's technical improvements. They want to get better at underwaters, starts. We're doing all that. Mindset, of course. But that's exactly the point, right? It's like a teaching moment. So then what happened is you kind of stepped into the role of being the bad cop and started to get a bit like wild and louder on pool deck. And everybody was listening, probably also. So I go, oh my God, what's going on? And then guess what? Stepped away and then it worked. And you know, our philosophy on camp, because we've done quite a few of those, and the summer camp is also different than from like a New Year's camp, because the New Year's camp is like middle in the season, and now, you know, I can understand that some of the swimmers, they might still be a little bit in like some kind of holiday mode and all that, right? Maybe my internet disconnected. Anyway, I'll keep talking. So the mindset, just the framing of them coming here might be a little bit different, and we understand that, but we need to set the tone in the beginning. And I'll tell you this story I told the kids in the confidence building session this morning. When I went to UVA, the University of Virginia, I was not used to doing turns, and I was used to swimming in a long course meter pool. And we had to do this set. Like 3 months in, me being at the University of Virginia, and we had to do this set. I don't remember what the set was, but it's 30 minutes of straight up pain because we were not allowed to breathe into the wall and we were not allowed to breathe out of the wall. And the set was hard, and it was in short course yards, which is about 22, 23 meters, which is a huge difference coming from a 50-meter pool, right? And like Switzerland, me not being used to doing underwaters because it wasn't a thing at the time. And after 20 minutes, I just thought, okay, I can't do it any longer. And I started cheating. And I started taking breaths before the wall, after the wall. And when we were done, you know, there were like 3 groups, fast, middle, and slow. And I was like in the middle group. I finished. None of the coaches were on pool deck. And we waited for the slower group to finish and stuff. And nobody was there. And we're like looking at each other. Okay, what's going on? What's happening? Where are the coaches? And we waited for about 2 minutes, and then all of a sudden, coaching team walks in. Like they came out of the office, walked into the pool, and the head coach walks straight to me and stops. And he tells the whole team in a loud voice, David Karasek from Switzerland, he thinks he's something better than you guys, and decided to cheat after about 20 minutes. So what we're going to do, David is going to step out. He's going to stand in the middle of the pool in the bulkhead, and he's going to watch you guys repeat the set. And I didn't know if I wanted to cry, laugh, if he was joking, but he was dead freaking serious. So I had to get up. I had to go stand in front of the bulkhead. And then he said, okay, we're leaving red on top. And I had to watch my team go through the entire set of 30 minutes of straight up pain again, and me watching there. And every time he was walking past me, because he was watching the others. Yeah, you see, Karasek, this is how we do it in America. You pussy. You'll learn, right? And imagine after those 30 minutes, that was the last thing we did in that workout. And I just felt these piercing stares from my teammates who looked at me, and I just knew at that point, okay, I don't need to say anything right now. And you know what? I learned my lesson. I never just okay, so I never cheated on in and out of the wall ever again. I'm not saying that I never pulled the lane line and backstroke or something like that. Wasn't perfect, but I never did that again. And you know what's the interesting thing? That year, I improved a lot. I went from 153 in a 200 free long course to 148. My 400 dropped from a 4 something to 352 and short course 346. So I was pretty good. I was pretty happy. And you know what? Mark took me by the side a couple months later again. He's like, do you remember when I made you stand on the bulkhead? I was like, yeah. Why did I do that? I was like, why did you do that, you little Italian, you know? You know, the word that I thought at the time, right? It was I wasn't happy with it. And you know what he said? He's like, you know, you weren't the only one who's cheating. There's plenty of other people cheating. But why did I take you out and made you watch everybody else repeat it again? It's like, because I knew that you could do better and that you just chose not to do it. You were not at your full potential in that moment. And it's like, all right. I mean, and it worked, right? I got taught a lesson. And you know, it's like, if you look at camp, if we're setting like a pretty strict tone, as another example is like in the evening when they're supposed to be in their beds with like teenagers, right? Different genders and all that. When you give them a finger, if they're in the mood for it, or they're kind of liking each other's company a bit too much, right? Next thing you know is like, well, you can imagine there's going to be room hopping all night and stuff, and then they're going to be dead for practice, and it's just a vicious cycle. So we have to set the tone in the beginning of the camp so that the boundaries are clear. And it might not also, it's not our favorite kind of coaching style, but it works, right? It works if we know, we remember why we're here, and we agree on a set of rules, and then everybody's doing his or her best to execute. And so the process to success is clear what it is. And our job as a coach is to help them stick to the process. And if they're slacking off, all right, then we're doing it like Coach Mark in America. By the way, Mark, okay, so to close the loop, he was very tough in my first year, with all the first years. Why? To set the tone, because we're going to be there for 40 years. And as you got older and kind of moved closer to graduation, and especially after NCAAs were over in year 4, he became one of our, he was so cool all of a sudden. Hell, you could have a beer with him, you know, which would never, before, unthinkable. And now I respect that man so much because he's had multiple world champions, Olympic gold medalists, world record holders, right, over his career. And we're such good friends. And the man means so much to me because he didn't just make me a better swimmer, and literally thousands of others over the years. He made us men and women. And that is the most valuable thing, to teach them these skills that sometimes you as a parent cannot, but we can, because we're not their dad, we're not their mom. And that sometimes does include a bit of tough love. And so we debriefed it today. And by the way, Mark is probably coming to camp next summer to coach with us, which we're super excited about. Not confirmed, but I talked to him, spoke to him on the phone. And we debriefed it, well, you know, what happened during that session with the swimmers in the confidence session this morning. And they got it, you know. We love them. We want the best for them. It is tough love, maybe very tough love, but it comes from a place of us caring so much for them and us wanting the best for them now and later in life. And the last thing also is we believe in them. We really do. I'll be up in a minute, okay?
We're already late.
Okay, all right, we gotta go. Meetings. Hey, anyway, we'll probably conversation that will continue. I hope that was useful, and we'll do more of those. Meeting with the manager.